The show begins with a beautiful girl named Bloom, who is heading to Alfea school on her very first day. But Alfea isn't an ordinary school. It's a place where fairies are trained. We soon learn that Bloom is a fire fairy, which means she can control fire. But the problem is she has no idea how to handle her powers or keep them under control. That's why she's coming to this school in the first place, to learn how to master her abilities. The school itself exists in a world separate from that of humans, and there's a magical barrier that allows fairies to travel between the two worlds. Humans, however, can't cross over since they don't even know the fairy realm exists. On that first day, Bloom feels completely lost, not knowing where to go or what to do until she meets a handsome young man named Sky. Sky is older than her and already in his second year, so he knows a lot about the school. From the very first moment they meet, Sky is instantly drawn to Bloom, and she quickly starts to like him as well. He helps guide her and tells her exactly where she needs to go, but then his close friend Riven shows up and interrupts them. Bloom ends up leaving and soon meets a girl named Stella. The headmistress had already asked Stella to show Bloom around and help her understand more about the world of fairies, since Bloom had lived her whole life in the human world without knowing she was a fairy or had any powers at all. This is Bloom's very first time entering the fairy realm, and she knows nothing about it. Stella takes her on a tour of the school and eventually brings her to the headmistress's office. There, Bloom meets Farah, the headmistress, who explains that classes will officially begin the next day, and the very first thing Bloom will learn is how to use her magic safely without causing any trouble. After that, Bloom goes to the room where she'll be staying, which is a shared dorm, and she finds herself living with 4 other girls. The first one is Terra, who has the power to control plants. The second is Stella, the one who gave Bloom a tour of the school earlier, and her power is controlling light and electricity. The third is Musa, a mind fairy who can sense people's emotions and even read their thoughts. The last is Aisha, who has the ability to control water. Bloom makes a video call to her mom and dad to tell them about her first day at school, and we discover that her parents have no idea she's a fairy or that she's even in another world at all. Since they're human, Bloom has made them believe she's attending a boarding school in another country. It's also clear that Bloom's relationship with her mother isn't good, as her mom constantly criticizes her for no reason. When Aisha notices that Bloom is upset and her mother keeps putting her down, she steps in to help and convinces Bloom to end the call, pretending that the headmistress had summoned her. After Bloom hangs up, she thanks Aisha for helping her, and the two begin to get to know each other. Later, Bloom talks with Stella and asks her for advice on how she can use her powers properly. Stella shares with her one of the most important truths about their magic, that their powers are tied to their emotions and feelings, whether it's fear, anger, or hatred. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the magic becomes. Meanwhile, Sky and Riven are training for combat, and their instructor, Silva, warns them that they need to push themselves to the limit in order to be ready for any danger. One of the students interrupts and asks what this danger actually is, and Silva explains that it comes in the form of a deadly creature known as a burned one. This creature is extremely vicious, with incredible speed and unimaginable strength, and if it wounds or bites someone, that person becomes infected and turns into a burned one as well. Silva tells them they must always be prepared because someday they might have to face one of these monsters. But the students don't believe him, since burned ones have been gone for years, and none of the students at the school have ever seen one in real life. They've only heard stories. At this point, Bloom is sitting alone, replaying her fight with her mother and the way her mom always treats her. She decides to head down to the school courtyard because she doesn't want to be by herself anymore. When she gets there, she runs into Sky, and they start talking. Bloom tells him she doesn't like being around crowds and that she always feels like she wants to leave the school and be on her own. Sky offers to go with her, but before they can leave, Stella shows up and asks to speak with Sky privately. Bloom steps aside and walks away while Sky talks with Stella. We learn that Sky and Stella used to be together, but she's the one who broke up with him. It's very clear that Stella is jealous and upset to see him standing with Bloom, so she tries to hint that she still loves him and wants him to stay away from Bloom and come back to her. Sky shuts her down, refuses to entertain the idea, and walks off, leaving her behind. Meanwhile, Bloom has already left the school grounds and is trying to practice her powers on her own. She manages to summon her fire, but suddenly loses control and can't stop it. Just then, Aisha comes across her by chance and quickly steps in, using her water powers to put out the fire and stop the situation from getting worse. They both return to the school together, but Bloom is upset with Aisha for interfering. Aisha tries to calm her down, explaining that when she first discovered her own powers, she couldn't control them either. She even flooded her old school. That makes Bloom start to open up, and she tells Aisha that she never knew about her powers until recently, which is why she doesn't know how to use them. She explains that she grew up with her mom and dad like any normal girl, but she always felt different. She never liked leaving her room, never made friends, and spent most of her time shut away. Her mother constantly fought with her about it, always criticizing her for staying locked up. One day, her mom forced her dad to take the door off her room to push her out into the world, but it backfired and only made her angrier and more resentful toward her parents. In a burst of rage, Bloom suddenly felt fire erupt from inside her, and it spread through the apartment, specifically into her parents' bedroom. Once she calmed down and realized what had happened, she tried to save her parents, but her mother had already suffered severe burns. From that moment on, Bloom understood she had powers, and because of them, she hated staying at home. She spent nights wandering outside so she wouldn't hurt anyone in her family again. Eventually, she met Farah, the headmistress, who explained everything to her and offered to bring her to Alfea so she could finally learn to control her powers. Aisha is moved by Bloom's story, but she asks how Bloom could have such powers when both her parents are human. She explains that normally a fairy's powers are inherited from her family, and then asks Bloom if she's absolutely sure they're her real parents, if she isn't actually adopted. Bloom insists they are her true parents because they've told her many stories about her birth. She explains that when she was born, she had a serious heart condition and was on the verge of death with no chance of survival. But then a strange miracle happened, and the problem disappeared on its own, allowing her to live. Aisha is shocked and tells Bloom that she might be a changeling. She explains that sometimes when human babies are about to die, they're secretly replaced by a fairy child, and there's a strong chance Bloom is one of them, even though such replacements haven't happened in centuries. Bloom is devastated by what she hears and refuses to believe it. Upset, she leaves Aisha and goes back to her room, where she sits thinking about everything, unsure if her parents are really her biological parents or not. As she looks at a photo of herself with her family, Stella comes in to talk to her. Stella tells Bloom that she knows she misses her parents and her world, and that's why she wants to help her. Stella then reveals she has a ring that can open a portal between the fairy realm and the human world. She tells Bloom she can use it to go back and be with her family, but warns her that the portal is located deep in the forest, a dangerous place. In reality, Stella is jealous of Bloom and deliberately wants to send her there to put her in danger, though Bloom has no idea. Bloom takes the ring and heads into the forest, using it to open the portal and step into the human world. Meanwhile, Musa, Tara, and Aisha return to their room, where they find Stella, but no trace of Bloom. Using her powers, Musa senses Stella's guilt and realizes her conscience is weighing heavily on her. She quickly understands that Stella had a hand in Bloom's disappearance. Together, they pressure Stella until she finally admits everything she did to Bloom. At that time, Bloom is in the human world. She goes near her home and sees her mom and dad from a distance. When she notices the burn scars on her mother's body, the painful memories come rushing back. Overcome with guilt, she decides not to go back to them, afraid she might hurt them again. Devastated, she walks away in tears and heads back to the portal. But just before she can use Stella's ring to return to the fairy realm, she suddenly comes face to face with a burned one. She doesn't even know what the creature is, but its terrifying appearance makes her try to hide. The monster attacks her, and as she runs for her life, Stella's ring slips from her hand, and the creature takes it. Bloom doesn't care about the ring at that moment. Her only thought is escaping. Suddenly, Farah appears in front of her and tells her to run while she deals with the burned one. Bloom runs back through the portal to the fairy world, where Musa, Tara, and Aisha are waiting for her. They were the ones who brought Farah to the scene. Bloom is terrified, so the girls take her back to their room, comforting her and trying to calm her down. This moment brings them closer, and their bond begins to grow as they get to know each other better. That night, we see Farah meeting with Silva, telling him everything that happened. She explains that she fought the burned one and managed to trap it in an old storage area until they decide what to do with it. Silva urges her to check herself carefully and take an anti-infection serum in case the creature wounded her without her realizing it. The next day, Stella returns to the room, and none of the girls can stand to be around her because of what she did to Bloom. Even though she's the one at fault, Stella lashes out at Bloom when she learns the burned one stole her ring. She insists that no one, especially the headmistress, can know the creature has the ring. Otherwise, a disaster could strike the entire school. Reluctantly, the group agrees to keep the secret. Later, Bloom goes to see Farah and asks her directly if her mom and dad are truly her real parents. Farah is forced to admit the truth. They are not. She confesses that she hadn't told Bloom before because she was never able to discover who her real family was, and she didn't want to put that burden on her or harm her emotionally. Farah tells Bloom to do her best to move forward, to focus on her studies, and to concentrate on learning to control her powers. Then, she leaves Bloom alone, struggling with the truth. After that, Stella goes to Bloom and the others, asking them to help her retrieve the ring from the burned one. They all refuse except for Bloom, who feels guilty since she was the one who lost it, and she wants to make things right by helping Stella get it back. The others warn her not to help because Stella is the one who put her through all this in the first place. And besides, Bloom can't even control her powers yet, meaning she won't be able to defend herself. But Bloom ignores their advice, leaves them, and goes off alone to practice her magic. Unfortunately, she still can't manage it. Then, surprisingly, Stella shows up and offers to help her, mainly because she wants to use Bloom when they go after the ring. Stella trains her using some harsh and unkind methods, but strangely enough, they work. Bloom starts to gain some basic control over her powers. The next day, Stella takes Bloom to try to retrieve the ring. They're in a hurry because they've learned that Silva has teamed up with the government and a military squad to transfer the burned one to a government prison. Out of concern for Bloom, Aisha insists on going with them. When Tara and Musa find out that Bloom and Aisha have gone, they decide to follow as well, not wanting to leave them alone. Together, the 5 of them head to the warehouse where the creature is being held. But when they arrive, it's gone. To their shock, they find the place filled with the bodies of the soldiers who were supposed to transport it. They realize the burned one has escaped. They also discover Silva, badly wounded and on the verge of death. Tara and Musa rush to help him, while Aisha notices Bloom is missing. She and Stella set out to search for her. Silva, meanwhile, has been infected and is close to transforming into a burned one himself. But luckily, Tara has the anti-infection serum with her. She gives it to him just in time, saving him before the change completes. At the same time, Aisha and Stella continue their search for Bloom. On the way, Stella freezes in fear and can't bring herself to use her powers. Aisha tells her to go back to the school while she goes on alone to find Bloom, promising to bring her back afterward. At that moment, Bloom is alone, hearing strange noises around her. Suddenly, the burned one appears right in front of her. She tries to fight back and manages to summon her powers, striking it with her fire. But the creature is unaffected and keeps attacking. Just when it seems hopeless, Aisha rushes in, takes control of the fight, and knocks the creature unconscious. Bloom quickly grabs the ring from the burned one, and the 2 of them escape immediately. Meanwhile, Tara and Musa return Silva to the school so he can be treated. Farah comes to check on him, and Silva explains that when he and the soldiers arrived, they found the burned one already freed. Someone had released it before they got there, and they need to find out who it was. That night, Stella takes the ring back from Bloom, and Bloom is shocked to see Sky walk into her room with Stella, realizing they're back together again. A week passes, and Silva returns to training, slowly regaining his strength. We see Sky and Riven sparring, and afterward, they sit down together. Sky is worried about Silva, but Riven interrupts his thoughts to confront him about getting back with Stella. Riven tells him he never should have taken her back after what she did, and besides, she's unstable. Everyone knows it, but Sky doesn't care about Riven's words. Later, after training, Sky goes to check on Silva and his injuries. Since Silva raised him, Sky is deeply concerned. Silva admits he's pretending to be fine, but in truth, his condition is getting worse every day. He explains that even though he's taking the serum to fight the infection, it's spreading too quickly through his body because of the many wounds he suffered. If the infection reaches his heart, he will transform instantly. The only way to save him is for the burned one that attacked him to be killed. If the creature dies, the infection inside Silva will die with it. Silva tells Sky that soldiers are already hunting the creature, but he's certain they won't be able to kill it in time. He hints that someone else will need to take care of it before he transforms, but Sky tries to reassure him, insisting that he'll recover soon. That night, Bloom, Aisha, Tara, and Musa are getting ready for their very first school party. It's clear the 4 of them have become close friends, leaving Stella on the outside. Once they're ready, they head down to the party and enjoy themselves. Bloom spends some time celebrating with Sky, and they share a sweet moment together until Riven interrupts. He warns Bloom to stay away from Sky because Stella is dangerous. He tells her that last year, Stella was dating Sky, and her best friend at the time began to like him and got close to him. As soon as Stella noticed, she used her powers to blind her own own best friend. Ever since, everyone considers Stella unstable, and nobody likes her or wants to be around her. Hearing this, Bloom becomes worried, pulls away from Sky, and leaves. Later, Sky receives a message that the soldiers have killed the burned one, so he rushes to check on Silva, only to discover that he's still infected and dying. Silva explains that the creature the soldiers killed was not the same one that wounded him, which proves this wasn't an isolated incident. There are many burned ones out there, not just one. Seeing Silva slipping away, Sky can't sit still. He decides to head into the forest himself to find the burned one that attacked Silva and try to kill it, no matter how impossible it seems. While searching the forest, he finds Bloom sitting alone, crying over the truth about her parents. Sky tries to comfort her by opening up about his own problems, telling her about his fear of losing Silva. He admits that he already lost his father once and can't handle losing another father figure. As he shares his plan, something strange happens. Bloom suddenly senses the burned one's presence nearby. She tells Sky what she feels and insists they need to go back and get help right away, but he doesn't listen. Instead, he keeps searching for the creature, forcing Bloom to go with him. She secretly sends messages to her friends asking them to come help, while guiding Sky toward the burned one's location, though he has no idea how she's able to sense where it is. Suddenly, the burned one attacks them. Sky tries to fight it off but can't, and just in time, Stella and the others arrive, joining the battle. Together, they manage to kill the creature. Sky rushes back to Silva and finds him fully recovered. Though Silva is upset with him for being reckless, they embrace with relief and happiness. The next day, the headmistress calls for an important mandatory meeting because the queen herself will be attending. We learn here that Stella is actually the queen's daughter. While everyone is heading to the meeting, Bloom decides to use the distraction to sneak into the school archives, hoping to find something, anything, about her origins and clues to her real family. On her way, she runs into Sky, who tells her he's not attending either and asks to join her wherever she's going. They go down into the archives together, searching through files for answers until they're interrupted by Riven and his girlfriend, Beatrix, who also skipped the meeting. Riven and Beatrix offer to join forces with Bloom and Sky if they're looking for something important. At first, Bloom is hesitant, but Beatrix manages to persuade her. Then Beatrix cleverly sets Sky and Riven against each other, provoking them into fighting outside, leaving her alone with Bloom. Beatrix continues to help Bloom in a suspiciously eager way until finally they uncover information that Bloom's real family once lived in a certain village. Beatrix offers to take Bloom there herself. Bloom feels uneasy and doesn't understand why Beatrix is helping her so much, but despite her doubts, she agrees to go with her. Meanwhile, during the meeting, Musa uses her powers to sense the emotions of both Farah and Silva. She realizes they're deeply anxious, and she soon discovers the truth. The meeting was called because someone among the students had killed the deputy headmistress using magic while trying to break into her office. The staff wants to gather all the students in one place to figure out who the killer is. But since the killer isn't at the meeting, they can't identify him. Musa quickly tells Aisha and Tara everything she sensed, and the three of them realize they need to find Bloom as soon as possible, since they're worried she might be in danger. Suddenly, while they're talking, Sky rushes in and asks if anyone knows where Bloom is. None of them do, so they ask him when he last saw her. He explains the last time he saw Bloom, she was with Beatrix, Riven's girlfriend. That makes everyone panic, and they go straight to tell the headmistress, since they've always found Beatrix strange and kept their distance from her. Her absence from the meeting makes them even more suspicious. They're certain Bloom would never commit murder, so all their doubt falls on Beatrix. Meanwhile, Beatrix takes Bloom to the place she promised. Bloom is confused because the land looks empty, no sign of any village anywhere. But then Beatrix uses her powers to reveal it. The entire village had been hidden by magic. What Bloom sees shocks her. The village is completely destroyed. Beatrix begins telling her story. She explains that the people of the village once lived normal lives until a dangerous creature attacked. At that point, the queen, along with Farah and Silva, decided to wipe out the entire village, everyone in it, in order to destroy the creature. They burned it all down, slaughtering the villagers. Beatrix says she was just a child at the time, and her family was killed right there. Bloom, too, was a child back then, and her family was also killed in the same attack. Both of them survived only because of a soldier named Rosalind, who couldn't bring herself to carry out the massacre like Farah and Silva did. Rosalind saved them at the last possible moment and sent them to the human world. Beatrix explains that afterward, Farah used her magic to conceal the ruins of the village so no one would ever learn of the crime they committed. Bloom is stunned, unable to believe what she's hearing. As they leave, Bloom challenges Beatrix, saying she could just be making this up, since she has no proof for her claims. But Beatrix shocks her again by saying Rosalind is still alive, and Bloom can confirm the truth directly from her. The problem is, Farah has Rosalind locked away in a secret chamber inside her office. Beatrix admits she once tried to break in and free her, but failed because of Farah's protective enchantments. This is when we realize Beatrix is the one who killed Farah's assistant after he caught her trying to break into the office. Beatrix then tells Bloom she must help her free Rosalind from captivity. Before Beatrix can say anything more, Farah and Silva appear, stopping them in their tracks. They immediately arrest Beatrix and take Bloom back to the school, where her friends are waiting anxiously to make sure she's safe. Later, Farah summons Bloom and questions her, asking what she and Beatrix had been talking about the whole time they were together. Bloom tells her they were only discussing ordinary things, then excuses herself and leaves. But it's clear Bloom suspects Beatrix was telling the truth, that Farah and Silva really did commit those crimes. Farah, sensing Bloom might have learned something, begins to watch her closely. Silva, meanwhile, goes to Sky and orders him to get close to Bloom and find out what she and Beatrix discussed. When Sky asks for a reason, Silva refuses to explain, telling him it's an order he must follow without question. Days pass, and one day we see Bloom and Sky training together, spending more and more time with each other. Afterward, Sky approaches Silva and tries to convince him that Bloom has nothing to do with Beatrix and that they should stop spying on her. But Silva is adamant. He believes Bloom is hiding something, and he instructs Sky to stay close to her and uncover it. That night, Bloom secretly sneaks into the prison to visit Beatrix. She tells her she can't fully believe what she said, especially after learning that Beatrix killed Farah's assistant. Beatrix insists she had no choice and reminds Bloom that the only person who can confirm her story is Rosalind. She pleads with Bloom to help her escape so they can free Rosalind together and prove the truth. At first, Bloom is hesitant and afraid, but in the end she agrees, deciding to help Beatrix break out of prison. Still, they plan to wait for the right moment, since Bloom knows she's being watched. After leaving, Bloom sits alone, only to have Sky show up to talk to her. He admits that Silva ordered him to get close to her and spy on her. He apologizes, explaining that he had no choice but to follow orders. He then tells her she can trust him, asking her to confide in him about any problems she's facing, because he's with her, not against her. After much hesitation, Bloom finally decides to tell Sky about the village and everything Beatrix had revealed to her. Sky is shocked, unable to believe it at first, especially since Silva is like a father to him and someone he trusts completely. But in the end, he chooses to believe Bloom. Still, Bloom doesn't fully trust him and refuses to tell him about her plan to free Beatrix. Instead, she drugs him, causing him to pass out, and immediately heads off to break Beatrix out of prison. When she arrives, she finds Aisha and Tara waiting for her. They had been watching her closely because of her strange behavior lately. Realizing what Bloom is about to do, they confront her and demand to know why. Bloom explains everything, but they don't believe her. They're convinced Beatrix is manipulating her. They block her from freeing Beatrix, so Bloom storms off and goes straight to confront Farah about everything she's learned. Farah is stunned and finally begins to tell Bloom the truth. She explains that during the destruction of the village, she and Silva had been under Rosalind's command. Rosalind lied to them, claiming she had already evacuated the civilians and ordered them to wipe out the village. Believing her, they destroyed it completely, only to later realize the horrific truth. They had slaughtered innocent people. From that day forward, they turned against Rosalind, captured her, and imprisoned her. Ever since, both Farah and Silva have lived with the guilt of what happened. Bloom asks why Farah hid this from her, and if Rosalind was truly evil, then why had she been the one to send Bloom to the human world as a child? Before Farah can answer, Silva interrupts, telling her they need to move immediately. Farah tells Bloom she'll explain everything later, then leaves with Silva. Left alone, Bloom sits in confusion, torn about who to believe. Soon after, Tara and Musa arrive, with Stella alongside them. They tell Bloom they're ready to help her free Beatrix. Together, they break Beatrix out and follow her to the place where Rosalind is being kept. They descend into the hidden chamber, and Bloom goes in alone to face Rosalind, beginning a conversation that could finally reveal the truth. Before Bloom can get any real answers, Rosalind convinces her to free her first. Bloom agrees, breaks her out, and escapes with her. At the same time, Aisha goes to Farah and tells her what the others are up to. Farah immediately rounds up Tara, Musa, and Stella, locks them in their room, and sets out to search for Bloom and Rosalind, but she finds no trace of them. Beatrix has also disappeared, and no one can locate her. Meanwhile, Rosalind is trying to regain her strength. Bloom asks her about the village, demanding the truth. Rosalind admits that she lied to Farah and the others, tricking them into destroying it. But she adds something no one else knew. The people of that village were sorcerers, extremely dangerous ones. That's why she decided to wipe them out along with the creatures in one single strike. She tells Bloom she isn't actually from that village, as she had believed. Instead, the sorcerers had kidnapped her because of her immense power. When the village was destroyed, Rosalind took her away to the human world because Bloom was in great danger, both from the predators who wanted her dead as a child and from the sheer strength of her own abilities. Rosalind assures her that she will stay by her side until they discover her true family. But right now, they need to prepare for something much worse. A massive attack on the school by countless burned ones. Bloom is skeptical, not believing her at first, until she gets a message from Stella warning her that burned ones have already infiltrated the school. The moment Bloom realizes her friends are in danger, she decides to go help. She asks Rosalind to come with her, but Rosalind refuses, saying she hasn't regained her full powers yet and would only be a burden. Bloom leaves her and hurries off. On her way, she runs into Sky and quickly explains everything. Together, they head toward the school. Along the way, Bloom apologizes for drugging him earlier, admitting she only did it because she knew he would stop her. But Sky doesn't accept her apology. He brushes it off, completely focused on saving the students at the school. When they arrive, they free Bloom's friends from the room where Farah had locked them. Afterward, Farah gathers all the students and warns them that military reinforcements are on the way, but there's a high chance the burned ones will break through before help arrives. That's why they must prepare themselves now for the very moment they've all been training for and be ready to fight. After Farah finishes her speech, Bloom goes to speak with her and tells her everything Rosalind revealed. Farah warns her to think carefully about Rosalind's story, reminding her that Rosalind is a master manipulator, and it can't be a coincidence that the moment she was freed, all the burned ones suddenly gathered and marched toward the school. As Bloom reflects on Farah's words, she realizes she has a point, especially since Rosalind refused to come with her. Still, Bloom decides to focus on saving the school and her friends first, and only afterward deal with the mystery of Rosalind. Bloom steps outside the school and, having finally mastered her powers, unleashes her full strength. Alone, she confronts the burned ones and wipes them out completely. Exhausted from channeling so much magic, she collapses, but Farah arrives just in time to help her and brings her back to her room to rest. The next day, Bloom seeks out Sky and apologizes once again. This time, he accepts her apology, and the two spend time talking together until Farah interrupts, asking to speak with Bloom privately. Farah thanks Bloom for her bravery and for saving all the students the night before. Bloom apologizes for doubting her, and their relationship is mended as they embrace. Days pass, and during the break, Bloom returns home to her family in the human world. This time, she intends to tell them the truth about everything. She doesn't go back alone. Her 4 friends come with her. Bloom sits down with her parents, explains everything, and though it's difficult, they accept her for who she is, a fairy. She spends quality time with both her family and her friends, enjoying the peace. At the same time, Rosalind confronts Farah. She reveals that she was the one who sent the burned ones to the school, claiming it was only a test of Bloom's powers because a far greater danger is coming, something beyond the burned ones, and Bloom will be needed to face it. Rosalind also announces that she has allied with the Queen and will be taking over as headmistress of the school. Together with Beatrix, who will serve as her assistant, she plans to prepare all the students for the coming threat. She tells Farah her time at the school is over. Outraged, Farah refuses to accept it, declaring she won't let Rosalind take control. But Rosalind strikes her down, ending her life, and leaves to assume her new role as headmistress. And so begins Rosalind's journey to lead the school into the battle against the looming danger, marking the end of Season 1.